Okay, well, hi everybody. Welcome to our community chat with some out Olympic hopefuls. This is kind of how we want this to work. We want to give everybody opportunity to ask questions and engage, but we can't have everybody ask questions and engage all at the same time. So if you've got a question or you want to say hello, just put in the little chat box. There's a chat button on the bottom of the screen. You can click that and then just say, hey, I got a question, or hey, I got something to contribute. I know that we have people who are in and around the Olympics and sports as well. So you may have something that you want to add to what our special guests have to say. So feel free. But again, just, kind of, so I can call on you, just be sure to put it in the chat box. So let me just introduce everybody who's here. First of all, we have Michael Gunning, who lives in, Michael, I know that you're in the UK, and you were in Manchester?
Yes, Manchester. My family are in London, but, when we kind of went into lockdown, I train up at Stockport Metro Swimming Club. So yeah, I'm up in Manchester.
And I know we were talking before this that, being a Black athlete in the UK, it's been a busy last month for you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so kind of my history, from a junior level, I was born in the UK. My dad is Jamaican and my mum's British. So I've always kind of been lucky that I've always been able to choose which nationality I do represent. And, growing up as a junior and, making my first Team GB team, it was amazing because I did fly that British flag and, kind of going through and looking at my experiences as a Black athlete with all of this stuff going on, I think I had a really good time. I wasn't really, no one gave me any criticism for being Black, and I didn't even really notice that I was the only Black swimmer in the British team. So, I've been speaking out about that a lot here in the UK, and, since kind of going to Jamaica, I think there's always stereotypes with me being the only Black person in the team. But I think going to Jamaica, being with a predominantly Black culture, there's still stereotypes of Black people can't swim. And I think I'll always, wherever I go, whatever, all athletes will always have different stereotypes put upon them. But yeah, I'm so proud to be swimming. I'm so proud to be here in the UK and just going for my dreams. It hasn't stopped me. And like I said, Black lives does matter. And I feel very, very privileged that I've had this opportunity.
Over the last month, you feel like your voice has been elevated there in the UK?
100%. Yeah. I think lots of organisations now are starting to consider if, how they are, representing Black people. And, as a swimmer, I think because of my positive story, there's so many hard and heartbreaking stories that are out there about how people have been treated. But I'm one of the lucky ones that has been treated well. And, yeah, so it's great that I can share with everyone and spread the positivity.
What's amazing about the four folks joining us is each one of them is very unique and has had very unique experience in different ways. And Michael, I know you talk about being Black on Team Great Britain, but what about being gay on Team Jamaica?
Yeah, I was so scared of the repercussions of swimming for Jamaica. I fully knew when I was, I started to represent Jamaica about LGBT out in Jamaica and kind of, what was the pressures that was going to be put on me. But I think now's the time for change. And, there's definitely going to be ups and downs, barriers in my way. And, because it's so hard to change someone's mindset when it has been set in stone, when, their parents or grandparents have kind of forced upon them, this stereotype of gay people. But, I came out as gay on a TV show here in the UK. And to be honest, I never really thought about how it would kind of travel around the world and obviously hit Jamaica. But, since swimming for them, there's always going to be that bad comments, but they kind of haven't really said anything. They've just watched me and, I'm doing well in the pool, I'm making teams. And I think for them, having someone like me representing them and being happy, being confident and still being a Jamaican athlete, just people are proud of that. And, they just don't talk about my sexuality, but, I'd love it. I'd love to get to a stage where I can talk openly about it and fight for it.
Yeah. Well, Nikki, you've had a couple of instances of kind of maybe being a fish out of water. One is that you competed for the University of Arkansas, and Arkansas isn't exactly known for its full embrace of the LGBTQ community. And second, you competed last year for Team USA in Qatar. What were some of your experiences just being that person where maybe you were a little afraid of being who you were?
Yeah, totally. I think as soon as I came out, when I was at Arkansas, I think I definitely, like Michael was saying, definitely very afraid of the repercussions. But as soon as I did it, I felt relieved. And then I think everyone else around me also was just I was vulnerable with them. And so they were like just happy that I could be myself. And I think I would just say that I was pleasantly surprised just constantly by the affirmation and like reassurance I got from like my teammates and coaches. But like being in a bubble or being in this like red state of Arkansas, it was very like, I kind of was hiding a little bit more than I thought I was. And I think I didn't realize that until I moved to California. And so it was like, oh, okay, this is what it's like to be out of this bubble. And then, once again, last year competing at the World Championships in Doha, it was just a wild experience to like just kind of see that culture. And I think when I first made the team, my whole life I've been trying to make Olympic team, world teams, and represent my country. And then finally getting the chance to do that, like my first I think emotion after I crossed the line was excitement, because I had like reached one of my childhood goals. But I think a very quick like second feeling was like fear. I was like, oh shoot, okay, I'm going to this country where it's illegal to be gay, and I'm very openly gay. So but I think Team USA did a great job of like managing it and like being really supportive of me the whole time. So it was definitely a good experience overall, I would say.
How did they manage it?
We had a meeting, like a team meeting, and we had this security guard, and he came and talked to me and was like, hey, like if anything happens, like you're even though you're in this country, like you're Team USA, like, we basically like, if you get thrown in jail, like we'll bail you out, and like they're like, we got you, and like nothing's gonna, we're gonna prevent that at all costs, kind of. And so I was like, it was kind of weird, because I was the only one he like came and talked to, and I was like, okay, this is very much like a bizarre feeling, but like good to know that I'm safe here in this hotel with you guys. And yeah.
Well, like representing Jamaica, Amini represents Tonga, where homosexuality is illegal, and you represented Tonga in two different Olympics. You were the flag bearer for the first one before you came out, and then you were representing Tonga as an out gay man. What is it about that is important to you, and do you struggle with the idea, I mean, of representing a country where it's illegal to be gay? And hold on one second, just unmute so we can hear you. Oh, this damn Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Was it a struggle? No, not really. I think for me, it was knowing that I was doing a good thing, just becoming visible as an LGBTQ sports person for Tonga. There are so many LGBTQ kids in Tonga and out of Tonga as well, here in the US, just all around the world. But, I think visibility is important, and important for them to know that you can reach the highest levels of success and be different. So was it a struggle for me? No, not really. It's always been something that I wanted to lean into.
Is that visibility and being visible part of what is pushing you to reach a third Olympic Games?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. To me, I share a lot of similarities, like you said, with Michael. You know, we're both island boys, we're both swimmers. But he's from the Caribbean, which is, you know, historically also quite homophobic, and the Pacific as well, where I'm from, very homophobic. So I think for me, it's important when I feel like the youth of tomorrow feel okay being themselves. And when, you know, they feel supported and the rates of, you know, suicide and depression go down, and you know, the queer youth community feels like they're protected. And unfortunately, still we're in a place in the majority of the Pacific, not just Tonga, but also, you know, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, all over. It's Fiji included. It's still illegal. So it does push me. It does push me really. It adds this sort of extra gear into an extra part of passion into the road, for sure.
I know that this is something that weighs on Chelsea Wolfe. If you don't know Chelsea, Chelsea competes in BMX freestyle. The next Olympics would be the first time BMX freestyle is in the Olympic Games as a medaled sport. That's correct, right, Chelsea?
It is, yeah.
And so not only, you know, will you be one of the first people to ever compete in the sport of the Olympics, not only will you be the first out transgender person to compete in the Olympics, but as far as you and I know, you're the first trans woman ever to be on Team USA, a Team USA. And I know that's, you know, wanting to be that role model, you also have a little bit of struggle with the fact that trans people are not treated equally in the United States and putting on that Team USA uniform. What does that feel like for you?
It's really complicated emotions, because here I am competing to represent a country and win medals for a country that doesn't believe that I deserve basic human rights like access to healthcare. And the fact of the matter is that for a couple of days span there before the Supreme Court struck the decision down, it was looking like if I got injured while training, which is very common in our sport, I could be denied care as I'm training to compete in the Olympics for the United States. So it's a huge mixture of being ashamed of where the United States stands on all kinds of social issues, and just our stance in the world in general is something that I'm not okay with in the slightest. But the reason I work so hard and I'm so proud to wear the Team USA jersey is because I feel like that by doing so, I'm representing the positive side of the country and showing people here and elsewhere that the United States should represent diversity and inclusion and acceptance and love, and not the things that it widely represents now.
And so that visibility piece for you is a huge driver of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't think that I had a future in doing anything in life as a trans woman. So to get to be that person for somebody else, that they can see a future for themselves in anything they want to do and not feel like they have to hold themselves back or like they don't deserve to do something because of who they are, it pushes me probably a little bit even more so than just my own personal sense of accomplishment.
I'm curious, you know, that the Olympics are pushed off for a year and we are in the middle of a pandemic. I'm curious, I know, Nikki, you mentioned that you are now in Utah training. I'm just curious from all of you, like, how are you training? How are you getting through this? And what do the future few months hold for you? Where exactly in Utah are you now, Nikki?
I'm up in Park City, Utah, up at 7,000 feet, you know, just to get a month of training at elevation. And for me, I try to go up twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. And, you know, this year we're just kind of waiting for things to open up. And Utah kind of has been this little oasis, and it's kind of opened up earlier than other states. I don't know for good or for bad, but So yeah, we decided to come up here for a month, just to keep it as consistent as possible. Like, even though there's no meets on the schedule, it's good to go up twice a year to get that boost, and just try to stay as consistent with your training as possible. Like, I'm kind of looking at it as if like I'm in college and this is like my redshirt year. It's like, okay, I can't I can't compete this year, but I'm still gonna train and get 1 year stronger for next year.
You're in the best place, let me tell you that.
Well, Michael, I know you can go to a pub, but you can't go to a pool.
Yeah, all the pools are still closed, and the government won't actually announce here in the UK when pools will reopen, which is just crazy. You know, pubs and, you know, different nail salons are open, but yeah, you know, a chlorinated pool isn't open. It's just crazy. So I'm obviously having to like do lots of land work, and you know, anyone that knows me just know that I don't really like land work. I much prefer being in the pool doing 8K, 9K a session. But you know, we have a few endless pools in the country where we've been going to some teammates' endless pools, but it's really not the same. So yeah, I'm just trying to do everything on land, which has been a real change.
I mean, where are you right now, and are the pools open at all?
I'm actually in Chelsea, Manhattan, and no, none of the pools are open. I'm in the hub of coronavirus and COVID-19, but things seem to have been settling down. But as the same with Michael, no word yet on when pools will be allowed to be open, no word yet on gyms either. So it's been a lot of yoga tutorials and a lot of cardio by biking and cycling, and doing my best to stay in shape and stay engaged. It's tough though, for sure.
But how are you doing that? I mean, is it just a bicycle and just some running?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't really have anything else to do. I don't have access to a gym. Beaches are closed. I wish I could, like, I don't know, it's kind of gross, but go to Coney Island and maybe swim even out there. But nothing. We're not allowed to do anything. And yeah, that's it. I think right now for me, the priority is like looking after my kind of physical health, mental health, and staying in a good routine and a good headspace, because as soon as I'm back in that pool, I'll be hitting the yardage and I'll be, you know, it'll be go, 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 go. So it's like the calm before a very big storm.
To Chelsea, to do what you do, you're not just hopping on a bike and riding, you're doing all kinds of stuff. And if you haven't seen video of Chelsea doing her thing, you should track them down, because it's pretty extraordinary what they do with a bike. But you need a facility. Are there any facilities open?
Yes, I thankfully have a handful of facilities that are back open now. There was a couple of months span that I didn't have access to any facilities, and that was, you know, it was a little bit hard to just sit by and do nothing while some of the other competitors did have access to training facilities and watch them learning all these new tricks while we're not even riding at all. So I was fortunate enough, though, in that time period that we're still allowed to ride outside. We didn't get to a point here in Florida that things locked down so completely that we couldn't go outside and exercise. So I still did a lot of cardio training on my road bikes, and then weight training, yoga training at home. And then even on my BMX bike, when I first got into BMX freestyle, it was in the form of street riding, because I couldn't afford to pay the fee every week to go ride at the local training, like skate park is what it's commonly called. So it kind of brought me back to my roots, and I went to like all these spots that I hadn't ridden at in like 10 years. And it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't really conducive towards learning tricks or training for the games, but it was something that just kind of like kept me somewhat sane throughout the ordeal. And now things are slowly getting back to normal. My local training facility that I go to the most often is back to normal hours, and I like that one is open all day every day, because I can go in the morning, nobody else is there, so it's a little bit less dangerous to do so. And then a handful of other ones, they're still on their limited hours situation.
Again, if anybody wants to hop on and ask a question, just leave a little question mark or something in the chat, and we'll bring you up. The question on everybody's mind is, when will we see you back competing again? Do any of you have any indication that's even in the works?
I know for cycling sports and BMX freestyle specifically, they are trying to reopen our Olympic qualifying process in the beginning of next year. So when the World Cups were, like, there were supposed to be 2 more World Cups that counted for qualification points this year, they're going to be pushing those back to the same dates, I believe, next year and reopening the points. So they're kind of tentatively pushing for early next year to have things going again, but it's still based on whether or not it's safe. And they've said that they're not going to like push the matter if it's not 100% ready to go.
Yeah, it's the same with the swimming. You know, all competitions this year has been cancelled, and they've said it should start back up in the new year. But you know, the closer we get, you know, to like summer in August, like I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's.
I don't know. Sorry, just on swimming. As far as I'm aware, I don't think they've cancelled World Champs in Abu Dhabi yet. But
Okay.
When is that?
That'll be in December. Yeah, and that'll be World Short Course Championships in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. So at the moment, not yet cancelled, but I'm not sure when we'll find out.
December at the earliest. It would seem to me there are like a handful of sports like tennis and swimming where you're covered in chlorine, that the lanes, you're 6 feet apart probably anyway. You can manage the entrance and exiting of everything with distancing. It is bizarre to me that they have not figured out a near future for swimming competitions.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, New York City scratched swimming for the entire summer. Like, it's out of the budget. So our club pool is the only pool that I can rely on to train in, and private pools. So all of the public pools in New York City are closed until September for sure.
You know, and actually when they canceled the Olympics, that was one of the things that I said had to be one of the reasons. That's why I immediately thought this is canceled, because people weren't going to be able to train. And they weren't going to have qualifying competitions in March and April and May. And so you can't exactly have an Olympics if no one's been able to train and no one's been able to qualify.
I think, you know, some of the scariest things is, you know, so if World Championships short course in December did carry on, I think so many people would be scared to even compete there, because no one knows how they're going to swim. No one knows who's been swimming, who hasn't, who's managed to, you know, get a pool in. And I think it would just be the massive unknown of, okay, well, let's just see where everyone is at right now. Because, yeah, and I think lots of athletes won't even want to compete until they get a big block of training in, because they're scared of kind of going to that world level and showing weakness.
I know the biggest thing that I'm worried about is not necessarily the competing, because with BMX freestyle, we're all on the course one at a time. So that would be possible to do safely. It's a matter of how do we get the athletes from all over the world to one location to train safely. Like, we just fly public airlines. It's not like we're making enough money to have private jets or anything. So it would be the travel to the events that I think is really going to be what changes whether or not it's safe to hold events.
Yeah.
Nikki, what is the next competition that you're scheduled for that has not yet been canceled?
That's a good question. I mean, there's little meets like starting to happen or trying to happen like in August, September, kind of like around the US. Like there's a mile in Memphis, but they're all very like low key and you can't hit the Olympic standard. You can't qualify for anything like that. It's just basically if you want to race, like you can race. As far as like big one, I think next year's World Indoors is getting rescheduled. I don't know though, but maybe like the trials next year is the only thing that's like set in stone, but at the same time, who knows, you know? So it's a good question.
It's, as a college football official and obviously somebody who writes sports, it's the question I get asked more than any, and particularly over the last few weeks. When is this sport going to come back? Do you think this schedule is going to happen? Because in the United States, college sports are supposed to start in about 2 months, maybe 10 weeks. And they have yet to present a plan to make football happen in the United States. So it's always on everybody's mind right now, because people, I think, are just starving for some sports. Amini, you're the one of the four who have been to the Olympics. What can you tell the rest of the other three about, you know, preparing for the Olympics and being out at the Olympics? I mean, what is it like to be there?
Oh gosh, it is like the Hunger Games. It really is. I mean, I am always entertained endlessly because my event's on the first day, so I'm done by day one usually, and it's great people watching because, you know, it attracts some of the most hyper competitive personalities in the world and some of the most hardworking, diligent personalities in the world, and it is a very, you know, it's a pressure cooker. I mean, a lot of people are there, and a lot of nerves, a lot of excitement. It's everything you can imagine, and like I think every emotion you will feel like in the village at some point. But it is, it's a very unique experience, unlike anything I've ever experienced, and obviously towards the end, everyone is a lot more relaxed and enjoying themselves and being really present and in the moment. And I think that's like a difficult part of it because it's such a whirlwind. But I think that's the toughest part too, is just like really soaking up every moment and just appreciating the journey, like every step of the journey, every bit of pain, because there is so much pain involved. I mean, it only gets more painful as you get older, but just like I've learned over time to kind of enjoy the process of breaking down my body and enjoying the process of nervousness when I go to practice and relishing in that, because I don't know, you know, this is probably going to be my last round, and I think it's just like, yeah, it's everything you could ever imagine and hope that it would be. And it is, I think the hardest part that you should prepare for if you do go is the aftermath of the come down, because you do really, it does get quite tough afterwards, but like enjoy every step of the journey, and being in there and inside of the village is really once in a lifetime. So cherish it. Yeah.
It's one of the things that I hear from athletes is that the athletes who go in week one enjoy it a lot more than the ones like Nikki who would have to go in week two, because swimming is week one and track and field is week two.
Yeah.
In the Winter Olympics, figure skating is week one. And so it's, yeah, being done day one, you've fulfilled your dream and now you can go party.
You can go party, you can like people watch, which is really interesting, because when you get, you know, some of the most hyper competitive people in the world, it's interesting what mass comes on board in high pressure situations. I think that's always really interesting. And when you're not really in your head about your own event, you can really start to look outside of yourself. So I think that's kind of, yeah, like you said, my luck of being done early is, you know, I get to party, let loose.
Well, we do have some people who want to come on and ask questions. So Micah Porter, hopefully Micah will unmute. Micah is a coach and athletic director and a principal, and he lives in, he's everything in living in Denver. And Micah, you had a question?
Yeah, I was curious. I know that for, you know, my world was track and field. And, you know, every 4 years, the qualifying standards and making a team. What is that going to look like for sports where you have those standards to make a team or to at least make the trials? And
yeah,
curious about that.
So basically the qualifying window to get the Olympic standard opened in 2019. And so everyone that got it in 2019, like they're safe. They don't have to rerun it or re-hit it. So I hit the Olympic standard last summer. And so that carries on to the trials. And then, but it's kind of complicated right now because to qualify for the trials, they just pushed that back to December 1st. So now it won't, and so now it's frozen. Now no one can hit the standard from like March until December, but December 1st, all of a sudden it's going to be like, okay, now you can hit either the trial standard or the Olympic standard. And so I think there's going to be a lot of indoor meets and races where people are trying to run really fast. And so then at the trials, if you have the Olympic standard and your top 3, you make the team. So yeah, it's kind of basically it was open and then closed, and now it's going to reopen again for as far as to hit the standard.
Was that going to mean that there are more likely to be a larger number of athletes that will be vying for those spots?
Yeah, I think overall, like the window did get longer, but like we were talking, it's like, who knows what people have been able to have access to these past few months. So like, like gyms and like, actually, I mean, running, luckily for us, like, that never got canceled. You could always like go outside and go for a run. But as far as like access to tracks and like hurdles and like, gyms and strength training, that is, I don't know, like who knows? It could be way more people have the standard because of it, or like way less people have it. I really don't know. We'll just have to see.
And Nikki, last year for Team USA, you were 3 of the 3 runners. Where were you? You had 3. There were 3 runners in your event on Team USA last year, correct?
Yes.
And in the World Championships, of those 3, where did you finish?
3rd.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're there. You just got to stay there, right? Got it.
Top 3, baby. Yeah.
Well, for the rest of you, off of Micah's great question, kind of like, where do you stand? Like, what do you have to do to make it to the Olympics between now and then? Because every country has different, and every region has different numbers of athletes that they're allowed to send. So just kind of starting with Michael, where are you?
Yeah, well, obviously because I'm based in the UK, Jamaica doesn't have an Olympic trials. It's all based on time. So there's an A cut and there's a B cut. If you get the A cut, then there's like, I think 28 athletes that can go with an A cut. But, there's never really been that many, any Jamaican swimmers. Ali Atkinson has got the A cut, but there's not really any other swimmers that can, or are close to achieving it at the minute. There's a lot of us that are close and a few of us with the B times. But if, we get the B time, then it's kind of a waiting game to see who Jamaica will select to go to the Olympics. So I think all of our aim is to kind of get the A cut and just race as fast as you can at any FINA approved competition. And if it's the B cut, then it's a waiting game, I think, until like the end of June before the Olympics, like 3 weeks before the Olympics.
So just to be clear, if you make X time, that means you're in the A group and you're going. And if you make the second group a B time, it's okay. Well, if they have to dip into that pool, they will. And they usually have to. But you just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that is it.
I mean, is that the same thing for you?
Yeah, pretty much. Long story short, we don't have a pool either, a pool to race in. So anytime you can hit the time between now and then, like Michael said, June. I think the cutoff time's earlier. It might be May. I'm not sure, but there is a window, and we don't have a trials per se. You just have to go to a meet that is officiated by FINA and that is FINA sanctioned. So it is nice because it offers flexibility to us to choose the competition and figure out where we want to be to qualify. But yeah, it's a lot of waiting. Usually, at least for me, it's a lot of waiting. And it's complicated because sometimes there have been instances in the past where your country will have an invite, but you might not necessarily go. That's happened in the past before, just with some teammates that have been swimmers for countries where they've been offered an invite by FINA, but their national federation has a higher standard or a different standard. So there's the standard that FINA sets, and then there's a standard that your National Olympic Committee sets, and dependent on those two is is the one that you have to meet. So it gets complicated. It can get complicated.
And Chelsea, where are you? I know that there's a very limited number of people who are going to be competing in BMX freestyle.
Yeah, so in our entire sport, there will be 9 men who compete, 9 women who compete. The United States has qualified to send 2 women to compete and then 1 alternate. Currently, I'm in the alternate position, which is 3rd place. And the way the points work is based on performance results at the World Cup competitions. It like counts down from 1st through 8th position of like starting with 5 points, winding down to you get 1 point for like 5th through 8th. So where we're at is Hannah Roberts has already qualified. Like nobody can mathematically, well, basically myself and Angie cannot mathematically catch her. So she's cemented herself a spot in the games. Paris is almost there. Mathematically, it's still possible for me to catch her. She's 10 points ahead. Each World Cup win is worth 5 points. So theoretically, if I were to win both upcoming World Cups and she doesn't make top 8 and gets no points, then we would tie in points. The tiebreaker is the most recent scores and I would go. And then as far as the woman behind me, Angie, she is, I think, 1 or 2 points back. So it would take basically her having a stronger finish than like 4th or better in the next 2 World Cups, and then me not having a top 8, which all of these things, like they have their mathematical possibilities and then the actual likelihood of them happening. So at the moment, I'm sitting in the alternate position. If they can't schedule those first 2 World Cups next year, then the points are just as they lie and I go as the alternate. If they do schedule them, then it's all still kind of loosely up in the air.
And what's kind of unfortunate is that you're 5th this season in the whole world. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You're 5th. They're going to take 9, but you may end up staying home.
Yeah, and that's because the Olympics isn't about representing the best athletes in the world like the World Championships are. The Olympics is about representing the countries with the best athletes in the world. So they want to have as broad of a representation of different countries that they can. So even though there are a number of riders that in the World Cup rankings and in the World Championships finish behind me that will still go to the Olympic Games, it's because they're looking for representation, not just like, because as it is, the United States in the World Cup last year, I think we claimed like 4 of the top 9 spots. So, I mean, that would be half almost of the spots in the Olympic Games goes to the United States, and the Olympics isn't trying to accomplish being the World Championships. They want to be a representation of which country is better.
I get that, particularly a burgeoning sport like BMX freestyle. I mean, it sounds like swimming. If you're fast, you're fast and you're going. But I can understand wanting some geographic representation in a sport like that.
Yeah, freestyle is very complex because it's taking a subjective thing and trying to put an objective value onto it, and it gets a little complicated. So it's what it is, though. It's my sport and I love it. It's in the Olympics, so I figured I'd try my hardest.
I'm excited to see somebody joining us who is actually a former teammate of mine, Joe Gimmestad, is a big 49ers fan. We were bowling teammates until my shoulder decided it was done working for the rest of my life. But Joe had a question about where he can watch you.
Yeah. Hi, Sid. Hi, everybody. I wanted to know if any of the 4 athletes have any trials or competitions coming up that we can catch that on TV or via streaming in the meantime, or if everything is still postponed or canceled.
Sounds like there's no way to see, right?
For me, there's no competition scheduled, but we have like I post my training videos, which is stuff that I'm working on to do in competitions up on Instagram constantly. And then we also have the replays of our past competitions are always playing on YouTube. So you could look up like the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cups and the replays of those would come up.
Yeah, if the World Short Course Championships is on this December, then I'm sure I will be there, and that should be broadcasted. But yeah, I think we're not sure yet. It's just a waiting game really to see what happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nikki. What was that?
I was just saying it's all up in the air still, but once there is competitions, there's definitely they'll be broadcasted.
I want to bring on Megan Wenborn if Megan's around, because she had a question about adapting your sport a little bit. Megan, are you there?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, checking in from Santa Cruz, California. I was curious about people pivoting during this time. I know more formal events for track especially, and for swimming everything's at a halt right now. But if you all are considering pivoting just for the sake of some competition, if open water or more trail style running races come back online a little bit sooner.
That's a good question. I mean, for some reason, right now, I'm not really itching for a competition, just because I feel like I feel like training, I have no idea what shape I'm in, and I have no idea what shape anyone else is in. And it's kind of like Michael was saying, it's like, you don't want to expose yourself, like expose your weaknesses or let that get in your head. But, if I was like really wanting to just like compete, like, yeah, I would definitely do like a trail race, or like, something that if it was open, like if track was like still closed or can't do that, then like, yeah, I would maybe jump in like a triathlon, I don't know, like, or go race my friend in some random thing. But yeah, I think right now, I'm focusing on like getting myself mentally prepared for racing again, because it's like, I feel like as soon as the Olympics were postponed, it was like, okay, like mental shift, like switch turned off, and now it's just kind of like focus on myself. And then it's like kind of gonna take another switch to switch that back on, to be like, okay, I'm ready for competition now, and like I'm ready to get into like serious training. It's like the calm before the storm is like coming.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same, for swimming. Like, this is my 14th week not being in the pool, so no athlete could ever dream of that happening. So for me, like, my training has totally changed. I'm doing lots of running. I'm, that first kind of, when we first went into lockdown, I put on 8 kg. Like, I put on so much weight, and I didn't have a routine. And obviously I'm used to being in the pool 25 hours a week, and I was trying to get up every morning, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just do an hour today. And it was so hard to get into that routine. But now I'm fully in a routine. I'm waking up every morning, I'm doing like hour and a half cardio, followed by a stretch and something again in the evening. And, like same as Nikki, I'm not ready for a competition, but, I think it will be good just to, as soon as we can get back in the pool, just to try, the different things and feel for the water and kind of go back to basics really. I've got a really good fitness from what I've been doing on land, and, I've trimmed down again. I'm back to what I was, which is great. But yeah, competition, I think, yeah, we'll see.
I mean, yeah, I know that the beaches may be closed near you, but I hear from a lot of friends that the beaches on Fire Island are very open. Have you thought about heading out there?
I don't know if Fire Island is the place to really focus on the hard work. But hey, if anyone has an open home, I'm happy to go to Fire Island. I would love to
I don't know.
do some camp. I'm open to if you're doing some camp in Fire Island. Yeah.
I think his connection's a little off, but I think it might not be up for swimming, but might be up for going and having some fun on Fire Island. For those of you who don't know, Fire Island is an island near New York City that is known for its LGBTQ community.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael's like,
I didn't know that. Okay.
The LGBTQ people, particularly the gay men in the U.S., know Fire Island very A very famous place.
I was gonna say, I've never heard of a gay islander. I'd probably be hanging out there more.
Well, it's amazing. It's this community. There are these two communities, and one is called the Pines. And you go out there. It's about 600 homes. It's takes about 2 hours from New York City, and it is literally 95% gay men. And next to it is a town called Cherry Grove, and it's probably about 60% lesbians and bisexual and queer women, and maybe 30% LGBTQ men. And it's these two communities where you can straight people are straight cisgender people are a distinct minority. So
It sounds great.
Yeah, sign me up.
It's amazing. It's so much fun. Oh my gosh. Look it up. Fire Island, Cherry Grove, and the Pines. Anyhow, we digress.
That's a great documentary.
In the few minutes we have left, Joe Dimestad mentioned there's a documentary on Netflix about Fire Island and the gay community there, the LGBTQ community. It was a gay community. Now it is getting a lot more diverse. I want to just kind of hear from everybody just a couple things in the last few minutes we have. Number one, kind of talk about the support that you've had from people in your sport, and if there have been any moments where you really felt that you were not being supported as an LGBTQ athlete. Chelsea, I know you have a couple things to say about it.
Yeah. So as far as support, it's definitely mostly positive, especially outside of the competition scene. It's almost entirely people who are supportive. Within the competition scene, it starts to mix up a little bit. And there's been a lot of situations where it's not even that somebody necessarily reached out to support, but just that I felt welcome in their presence, and they actually spoke to me, because it's a pretty common thing that I'll be at competitions and other athletes and people there won't even speak to me. So it doesn't take much for me to feel supported at these events. As far as feeling a lot of resistance, though, there's been a lot of that as well. I've heard a lot of things that have been said about me from friends who overheard people when they didn't think someone who cared about me was listening. And there was one situation after the national championships last year where the woman who got fourth was suddenly livid about the fact that I got third, but didn't seem to care about the fact that there were two other women who beat both of us and all this other stuff. So her and her supporters base went on to this transphobic tirade on various social media outlets. And I reported this to Safe Sport and USA Cycling, and they did absolutely nothing to protect me, just sent us off to China a couple of weeks later, where, it is not legal to be gay there in public. So who knows what kind of stunt her and her supporters could have tried to pull. But her boyfriend, for example, said that my pain and suffering means nothing to him if I hurt the ones he loves. So it's that doesn't seem like a safe person for me to be in China with as a queer trans woman. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that I've had to fight through, but overall it's been mostly things not like that happening. So
Michael, how about you, having represented two different countries?
Yeah, so along my journey, I really feel like I didn't have any role models. There was no one I could look up to, especially being Black as well. So for me, I suppressed my sexuality for so many years. And, kind of since I've come out, obviously, because I'm living in the UK, but, I no longer represent them. I don't get the support that British swimming guys get, a psychologist and having that safe space to talk. I'm still treated amazingly by them, but obviously I'm not a funded athlete by them, or by anyone, so it's hard that I can't speak to them. And obviously out in Jamaica they don't talk about it, and obviously the different legalities. But from me sharing my story, from me talking out, I've had so many messages on Instagram and different social medias of Jamaicans out there, and I've heard there are so many groups, there are so many secret raves and LGBT parties, and I haven't seen any of that in Jamaica. I haven't been for a year now to Jamaica, and I'd obviously love to experience that and to see what everyone's doing. But I'm just so happy that I can be that role model to so many Black Caribbeans, Jamaicans, British people, where you know, they can confide in me and come out, and they have that role model, because that was one thing that I really didn't have.
Yeah. Nikki, you mentioned support you had, particularly at the University of Arkansas. Has that been consistent, and have you had actual problems with anyone?
Yeah, no, I think anytime you move away from a state, you kind of lose touch with people, but I definitely, the ones that supported me continue to support me, and we're still close. And you know, you as teammates in the NCAA, you kind of just like have this bond that no matter how far away you move, like you'll always be connected. And yeah, and I think, you know, being in San Diego, I live in North Park, which is right next to Hillcrest, which is like this mega like hub for the gays in San Diego. So no, the support has been just incredible throughout the whole sport. And I think something unique that like last year, I switched coaches from my college coach to my now professional coach. And I just remember having a conversation with him about my sexuality and like what that means, what that looks like. And he just made me look at it and like, okay, you know, like it's so much bigger than just you, you know? And so he made me realize that it's like, I kind of have this like superpower when I'm on the track that, you know, my straight competitors don't have. And like, I have more resilience because of this or whatever. I have this kind of edge on people, I guess. And so like support, I've felt like support like from all my coaches, but like to have someone like kind of break it down like that with me and like, oh, you're right, you know? And then all of a sudden I had all this confidence and was able to channel that part of me that I never really had before. And then, yeah, I think all my not support has been kind of online through social media. And I think it's just really easy to be like a troll behind a screen, you know? And, you know, no one to my face, I've kind of heard like what Chelsea was saying. It's like, okay, I heard from someone that someone said something, but it's never like to your face. It's always, you know, on a screen or from a third party, which I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but yeah.
Well, I mean, and for you, your teammates with Team Tonga, it sounds like they've been pretty supportive. And also, if you could also add, and I want to go back through everybody else for this, how can we support you? Whether it's how can we best elevate your voice, and how can we financially support you if you have a GoFundMe page or anything like that?
Yeah, for me, someone just commented, but I'm putting on a race this weekend, and it's a virtual 5K, and all the proceeds go to the Trevor Project. And yeah, you can still register. I think registration will close probably Saturday night, and then Sunday morning. It's kind of like I wanted to find a way to bridge my two communities together, my LGBTQ one and then my running one, and you know, just have runners sign up to run for this cause. And yeah, I don't really know how virtual races work, but it's pretty much like everyone on this one day on Sunday is going to go run a 5K and wherever you're at, and you know, kind of do it for whatever, like when you registered, you get a training program, and some people have been training for like 2 months. Like it's an 8-week training program, so it's like celebrate that you ran every day, you ran for love, and yeah, so that's how you could support me and what I'm doing and raising money for the Trevor Project.
Well, I know they had an explosion of interest in that, so it was awesome to see. I mean, yeah. How are you? How can we support you? I mean, you there?
Hear me this time? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Just Google Amini GoFundMe, probably. And that's probably the easiest way to find my GoFundMe.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll track that.
That's probably the best and easiest way to do it.
All right, we're gonna use some of that to get you some new Wi-Fi. No, we'll share that on social media and on Outsports. Chelsea, how about you? Do you have a way for people to support you financially?
Yeah, financially, I do have a PayPal account. If you want to reach out on Instagram, my handle is at Chelsea Wolfe BMX. The Wolf has an E at the end. You can send me a DM and say you want to donate or whatever, and I can give you my link to do a personal donation. Or also, currently, I'm looking for more private sponsors outside of my funding from Team USA. So if you have any leads on companies that are looking to sponsor out LGBTQ+ athletes, let me know for sure. That way I can get in touch. And then outside of financial support, just advocate for trans rights and, you know, stand up and promote trans voices and try to make things a little bit easier on all of us. And it'll help me greatly with what I'm doing.
Amazing. Thank you. That's awesome. And obviously it is a very hot topic right now. Michael, finish us off.
Yeah, I didn't have a GoFundMe page or anything like that. Obviously, like, I'd love a sponsor, but I think for me, you know, just raising my story, sharing it with someone, just getting my name out there and that I'm doing something good for the community. I think, you know, I just want to help people. I just want to share my story and show people that there are Black role models, there are gay role models, and that's why it's amazing doing things like this, to meet other people and to share. So yeah, just thank you.
Well, thank you all. I really appreciate you. And if there's anything we can do at Outsports, you just let us know. We're happy to do it. We're here to support you. And for everybody who joined, thank you so much. And tomorrow we will have our last Outsports Pride conversation with 3 people in politics who've come from the sports world, including Representative Sharice Davids, who's a congresswoman. So come back then. Otherwise, hopefully you can have a good final week of Pride Month. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us on.